So you say, tell me what the preacher said in 5 minutes or less. Well, today the preacher preached on the gospel of Jesus Christ and you. He said, what is the gospel? If you ask most people, if you ask someone that has been in church for some time, they might tell you that the gospel is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they will not be wrong. But the gospel is beyond that. What is the gospel? He said the gospel is the good news. The gospel is the good news. What type of good news though? What type of good news is the gospel? Is it the good news that your salary has been paid? Is it the good news that you have not been healed of your diseases, of your sickness? Is it the good news that your keys that were missing are now found? No. It is the good news that man was once lost. Man lost his dominion to sin. He lost his dominion to the devil. He lost something important to the devil. He lost himself, and he could not save himself. Man could not rescue himself. There was no way man could rescue himself when he lost his dominion to the devil. And the good news is that Jesus came to rescue man from that place of defeat. The law was given to show man how lost he is. The law was a measuring stick to show man that he could never fulfill the standards of God. And because if you transgress one of the law, you have transgressed all the law. And so Jesus came in his mercy to die on the cross of Calvary, to pay the penalty for our sin and our rebellion. And when you believe in him, that when he died on that cross, that payment was for you, that is credited into your account as righteousness. And now you are free to live for God. That is basically the gospel. The gospel started when Christ died on the cross. Romans chapter 4 verse 25. It says, who was delivered up because of our offenses and was raised because of our justification. So Christ did that for us. When you believe that, you have accepted the good news. That is the gospel. The preacher went on to tell us 3 things about the gospel. 3 things about the gospel. He said, number 1, the gospel is a plan. The gospel is a plan. It was the plan of God from the foundation of the earth. It was not a disaster that Jesus died. God planned that Jesus would die. Revelation chapter 13 verse 8 tells us that Jesus was crucified from the foundation of the earth. He was crucified from the foundation. So it was not, this was not in the script. No, it was always in the script. Only that the devil did not know it. Because had he known, he would not have crucified the Lord of glory. So Revelation chapter 13 verse 8 tells us that the gospel, the death of Jesus Christ on the cross of Calvary, was always in the plan. Second thing the preacher told us is that it's something that actually happened in history. It is not a figment of our imagination. It's not something somebody cooked up. It is actually an historical fact that Jesus died, and on the 3rd day he rose from the dead. There is historical fact. There is evidences littered over history that Jesus died. When some portions of the Bible was being written, people that saw him die and raised from the dead were still alive. And so there was evidence that this man actually died and was raised by God on the 3rd day. And the 3rd thing the preacher told us is that the gospel is the achievement of Christ. The gospel is not something that you and I did. It is something that Christ did for us. So no man can boast. It is something that Christ did for us. All we do is receive what Christ has done. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 21 says, for he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. So no one can boast in their own righteousness. No one can boast that they are now right with God on their own account. No. Everything that we are because somebody did it for us. Somebody did it for us. Somebody took your place. Somebody took my place. And of course, the preacher finished on John chapter 3 verse 16. You all know it. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He said most of us Christians read that passage as "for God so loved the church," we forget that God actually loves the world. He loves the Hindu. He loves the person that doesn't look like you. He loves the person that doesn't think like you. He loves the person that doesn't, believe like you, that doesn't go to church like you. He loves all of us. And it is our responsibility to extend that love to others. If you have received that love, it is your responsibility and my responsibility to extend it to others, to be the hands and feet of Jesus in spaces, in our own unique world, in our own world, at your workplace, in the marketplace, on the job. It is your responsibility, if you have truly received the love of Christ, to be the extension of his love in that space. I hope this blessed you. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next one.